Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
We've talked quite a bit before about how police officers can get in trouble on the job. And if they quit their job before they're investigated, the investigation kind of goes away, and then they can move on to another police force and start all over again. And so the question is, are there any professions out there where the licensing body actually does anything? And so I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see this story. Edward sent me from WCNC.com. Landlord who tried to fine North Carolina State students $23,000 loses her real estate license. And the interesting thing here is that what she's accused of doing didn't necessarily have a direct correlation with her real estate license. But the real estate people decided, well, we shouldn't let people who are licensed by us go around and do those things. And so they're going to take some action, and the result was interesting, so stay tuned, as I like to say. Tenants who had security deposits withheld by this woman could receive compensation. So Keely Arthur wrote this story for WCNC. The landlord at the center of multiple state investigations has permanently surrendered her real estate broker's license. So she had the license, she has surrendered it, and she said, I'm permanently surrendering it, meaning I'm giving it up, and I'm never coming back for it, and I basically am saying, you don't ever have to give it back to me, even if I ask. The move comes after a joint investigation between WRAL5 on your side and WCNC Charlotte that revealed years of alleged wrongdoing toward tenants, including predatory charges and withholding security deposits. So she was a landlord, but also the real estate broker. In one case, she tried to fine a group of North Carolina State students $23,000 when they moved out. Part of the fine included a four-figure charge for a large wooden table used for various activities, including drinking games. So apparently, she said, you left this table behind. It's going to cost you several $1,000s as a result. In another, a resident says she reached out to the landlord about a property in Greensboro, and then she wired $2,700 to the landlord, who then allegedly never finalized the lease and withheld more than $1,000 of the money permanently. So the landlord owns multiple properties, including several on Dixie Trail Road in Raleigh, and had an active real estate broker's license at the time of our reporting, referring to WCNC. Following those reports, several people made formal complaints to the Real Estate Commission. The commission said it knew of at least 24 tenants with issues with her. And so when they heard that she had a license of any sort, they complained. And, the weird thing is I've heard of people complaining and say, oh, I got in an argument with a doctor, I'm going to go complain to the medical board. Well, unless you're arguing with the doctor about something that happened in the doctor's office, like let's suppose it was over a parking space at Walmart, chances are the medical board's not going to really care that much. But here you can see a correlation, at least, between rental properties and real estate, okay? But the Real Estate Commission's legal counsel and director of regulatory affairs says their investigations usually target unlicensed real estate activity. So the bulk of the complaints they get are, hey, there's somebody doing some sort of real estate transaction over here, and they're not licensed to do so. However, because this landlord was a licensed real estate broker, the commission began to investigate. According to the legal counsel, the landlord made a decision to surrender her license rather than continue with the investigation. And that's an interesting thing because I wonder, and I've never looked at the rules by which real estate agents must abide. I've never looked at them. And so I'm wondering if she could have said, hey, look, I'm being accused of wrongdoing for my business practices where I'm simply a landlord. I'm not acting as a real estate agent or broker in those transactions. She very well could have made that argument, but she didn't. I'm just pointing it out. I'm a lawyer. That's what I do. It was a permanent surrender. A permanent surrender is not eligible for reinstatement. This closes our investigation. So now, some people are going to say, but Steve, this is the exact same result as the cops. No, because the cop can go then to a different department and say, I've never been officially sanctioned. I want to work here. She surrendered her license permanently. She's done as far as her real estate broker and so on license goes. She's done. So tenants who had security deposits withheld might receive compensation. And that's an interesting angle. And the way it's written is kind of hard to tell. But it does appear that this real estate organization has a fund to take care of people who've been harmed by the actions of a real estate agent. And by the way, the same is true for lawyers. Every year, when I renew my law license, I pay a fee, and a big chunk of that fee goes into a victim's compensation fund. It's not called a victim's compensation fund, I don't think, but it's called something where if someone gets ripped off by a lawyer, they can apply and say, look, I got ripped up by this lawyer, and he doesn't have the money to pay me back, or she, and therefore, I'm going to apply for money from this fund. So that's there. I know because I pay into it, and I paid into it 33 times. This requires them to obtain a judgment in small claims court and then to apply with a commission for the benefits of the fund. So you do have to file and get a judgment, but if she's hit with lawsuits by all these people complaining about her, I wonder if she'll defend them all. It says that there's at least 24 tenants they know of who had issues. The State Department of Justice is currently conducting a separate investigation into the landlord. An attorney with student legal services at North Carolina State University told WRAL5 on your side that his office had received complaints since about 2009 regarding her. And by the way, I've got a lot of people I know who went to various colleges in Michigan, and I know quite a bit about the housing situation in Ann Arbor, where the University of Michigan is located. And the way that city is, the university is right downtown in essence. There's a slightly different section of downtown, but the city and the university are intertwined in such a way that, yeah, there's student housing if you want to live in a dorm, but if you want to live in a house, there's all kinds of houses for rent. But because of the situation, the ones closest to campus are really expensive. It's not uncommon for someone to rent out a house and have like 15 people living in it. Now, the lease might not show 15 tenants. It might show 5 or 6 or 4 who've all then sublet to all their friends. Next thing you know, it's somebody sleeping in a closet. But it can get really crazy in some college towns. So craziness with rentals is not that unusual. But this kind of stuff where it's going to cost you a couple $1,000s to dispose of that table you left behind. Meanwhile, the woman's attorney maintains no wrongdoing on her part and confirms she is no longer charging the group of students for the wooden table. So the wooden table charge was dismissed. It was set aside by the landlord who decided not to charge for that. Okay, tell you what, we won't charge you for that. And by the way, if you were to actually, lease a space and leave junk behind, most leases say, or rental agreements say, if you leave and we have to clean it up, we're going to charge you for cleaning. But the question is, what does it cost to haul away a table? Is it thousands of dollars? Is it hundreds of dollars? And so, let's suppose that we hired, 2 guys in a dumpster or whatever the business is that handles this stuff, and somebody shows up with a dumpster and 2 guys, and they load it up and they haul it away. You could present that bill to a court and say, look, that's what we paid. We actually paid this. But I think you'd have a hard time coming up with a bill or a receipt with a straight face and said, yeah, it cost us thousands of dollars to dispose of this table, which, by the way, you probably could put down by the curb and wait about half an hour and someone will just take it away for free. Or, of course, this is East Lansing, and it was a couch. You put it by the curb and somebody will ignite it. But inside joke for people from Michigan. But Edward, thanks for sending me the story. Fascinating regarding the landlord getting rid of her real estate license because of all the trouble she got in with tenants. From WCNC.com, and Keely Arthur wrote that. Landlord who tried to fine North Carolina State students $23,000 loses her real estate license. A permanent surrender, they call it. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. I went to the bookstore and asked the saleswoman, where's the self-help section? She said if she told me, it would defeat the purpose.